All right. Happy full moon, happy blue moon, happy super moon. Happy full moon in Pisces. This is the fourth super moon of this year, which is a new meaning for the once in a blue moon, but it is closer than ever. And come tomorrow, it will be laying close side by side with Saturn, which is also in retrograde, because we're in retrograde central, except for Mars going direct, which I think explains a lot of four-fronted agitation, and I think has a lot to do with how we define our own self-worth, which, I mean, this is also a harvest moon too, so in the context of what, reaping what we're sowing and harvesting, that can create a lot of anxiety, as in not enough. And with Mars being the only thing sort of moving, I feel like Mars is Mars amidst all of these retrogrades is kind of like Rick when he wakes up in The Walking Dead and finding out that everybody's not here and everything is not right, and that can really jumpstart and really incite some survival mechanisms, which again goes back to self-worth and your productivity, and how that's dominated by capitalism, really, how our love languages, even especially with Venus retrograde and all that has been going on in that, how that is dominated by capitalism and colonization and productivity and all of these seemingly or told to us valuable things, the colonization of Eros, if you will, which I've kind of explored in my own right, and the irony of sometimes our most important love languages are the ones that we withhold from ourselves to punish ourselves when we're feeling down. But also something I've been exploring is why I have the love languages that I do, and what part of, for instance, as much as I love quality time, I'm a gift giver, and is that how has that been attracted or attached to my self-worth and attached to my self-worth through the lens of colonization and capitalism, and how I can restore value to my heart as it is the renewable resource that it is, as is yours. Funny thing that I read on some science website is that the supermoon is also characterized by a shortening of red wavelengths or red frequencies emitting, which I think, again, with Mars direct and that four-fronted agitation, is both our short fuses and short patiences, short-sightedness, and how easily triggered we can be, but also the capacity for how we can condense those things and sort of make them smaller than they sort of force themselves into a bigger presence in our life. So how do we harness those things and not control them, but harness them so that they can be docile rather than aggressive? How do we create a docile dynamic to our anger and to our suppression? This is also something that Mars direct, I think, will have a lot to do with. And with Eros also retrograde, I think that those two kind of go against each other with anger and suppression. Eros will not be allowed to. Gosh, sorry, I wrote notes on a receipt for for Walgreens. So I'm kind of trying to make sure that doesn't fly away in the weather. Let's see. Meets on top of Saturn, that I think will have a lot to do with the purpose of these emotions, of the ways that we're dealing with them, but also how that relates to what we feel our purpose is. And again, how colonization and capitalism can kind of shroud your heart into thinking that your productivity is your purpose. And while we may go through some of that in recognition. Saturn wants you to, in the full moon in Pisces, and Saturn wants you to dig a little deeper for what exactly is your purpose. And again, that will be a renewable resource. That will be something that you don't find yourself longing or in states of not enough for. Why people like Erica Badu say, focus on what you're good at, because that becomes a renewable resource. That becomes something that you'll never run out of, and something that you never find yourself burnt out or drained of. But yeah, anyway, we'll pull some cards. I dropped my phone. Sorry for that, but we're gonna pull some cards and channel this full moon on the eve of, in a lovely public place where I am trying not to be uncomfortable with people hearing me. Suppose. Okay. We will take 3 deep breaths together, much like we are hanging out in this strange little park with all of these people rocking us, rocking with us. Take 3 deep breaths together, pick up whatever vibe is in the air for the Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Okay, interesting. Change of perspective. There's a pivoting process in what we're receiving from the information that we're given, and perhaps even a different way to hold that information. I feel almost like, rather than grasping, just carrying from behind. I don't know, I guess in the way that you could like romantically gesture somebody toward you and dance, or contact improvisation. But there's much more in the emotional realm and in what we're receiving from all of this energy than what it is we're doing with that energy, or how it is we're going to move with that energy. Ooh. Oh, okay. I love this. I love this. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, we're sticking with it. We're sticking with it because that's kind of the answer that I anticipated anyway. Bottom of the deck was the Magician and the Empress, and what I was looking was for a bridge between those two, because they are kind of a bonding energy. And then outpoured 4, 5, 6 cards, which is interesting. Perhaps the 6 is that it takes to build a stable structure.
King of Cups, Five of Pentacles at the top. So that's with what we do and with what we know and with what we are able to create in possibility and within our minds. Again, rather than it be about the doing, it is about and rather than it even being about me looking for one connection or bridge between, this is a series of puzzle pieces and steps, almost like a series of rungs in a ladder to really get to this place. The King of Cups honors all of this emotion, again, is going to be the one receiving all of this and will not be overwhelmed by it, will be able to have an open heart that is also not overwhelmed, have an open heart with like organization, I suppose, like kudos for Virgo season, I suppose that's the most appropriate. But King of Cups dominated by his open heart and the capacity that has. This is very much that renewable resource, actually, which, funnily enough, the Seven of Pentacles underneath that, not only is he so grounded, but he is so offering. And that's something that I'm learning as well, rather than it be, like I said, about love languages, rather than it be about my gift giving. It is understanding that the more that I can give to myself is actually a really grounding state. And it's almost like replenishing in and of itself, so that you constantly have that renewable resource. And then all of the offerings that you step forward with in relationships, or be that friendship, familial, otherwise, work relationships, what have you, you then have more to offer. So an open heart, a dedicated heart, and a knowing heart, and a powerful heart, and a heart that has expansive vibrations. So while the red wavelengths are shrinking, other wavelengths are expanding. Blue wavelengths perhaps expanding, which is much more about your soul energy, which is much more about your, like, the Mercury in your magic, which is also why we have the Magician and the Empress here, because of what we can make of these things. Other clarifiers for these, the Five of Pentacles, that's very much a conjuring card, that's very much conjuring with intention, that's very much finding the perfect use for your resources, for your renewable resources. So, I guess that's like narrowing down projects and stuff too. I think with a harvest moon, we can, and the end of summer, we can be like kind of pushed to get, really get our last hurrah on. And, we hear it in conversations, like, I haven't been to the beach, I gotta do this, before the summer's over, I gotta do this, and this. That can be overwhelming. All of these pentacles are the energy that wants to invest in all of those things, but that can become dizzying unless we find a direct place for that kind of energy, and find almost like a direct, like a receiver for that energy, or a receiver for what we are speaking, like a hearer, a listener for what it is that we're offering. And that's not creating for the sake of that either, because you have the Ace of Cups, and that's purity. That's an offering of purity, and are you offering that purity to yourself? Let's not, be gift givers for sake of the Kobe special, where, that's that becomes a symbolism of what I'm sorry could have meant or should have meant. And there is no, while it is a gift and there is a receiver, there's no receiver on the hearing side of that message or on the feeling side of that message. So let's not lose the full dimensions of what it is that we're offering with any of these things, be it to ourselves or to others. And again, when you're offering it to yourself, you can get much clearer on those things, and figure out why you offer the way that you do to other people or to other situations, or why you move the way that you do, I suppose. The Eight of Cups and the Devil. Okay, this is where we're offering ourselves two things that aren't necessarily fulfilling. Offering for sake of habit, perhaps, or for sake of things that are not necessarily fulfilling. There's something I saw actually recently about the Devil being cheap dopamine.
And so is this where we're finding that frenzied and that sort of overwhelmed, Eight of Cups, overwhelmed energy as well? It's chasing cheap dopamine rather than full investments or fulfillment. And that is, again, where we get into territory of a non-renewable resource. There's a void when it comes to that kind of attention, where you can have a plethora of, but it will still never be enough. Whereas if you're investing into not cheap dopamine, like actually very pleasurable instances that are less seeking of outside validation, then that is a longer term fulfillment for a shorter term endeavor, I suppose. It becomes easier to be present with that rather than to search and seek and quest for validation, if that makes sense. Gosh, go devil, one of my favorites. Alrighty, moving forward. Nine of Swords, the Tower, and the Wheel of Fortune were the three majors that popped up. Tower in the central of it. So with all the chaos of the full moon, there's a lot of culture clashes, there's a lot of identity clashes, there's a lot of resource clashes, like within and without, macroscopically and microscopically. I feel like there's different, ideas, ideations of where we thought we'd be, of what we expected to have, that are clashing with each other now, and again, going through those self-worth productivity kind of debates in our head. The Tower is it is a clearing card, but it's not trying to break down everything that you've built. It is trying to show you where there's instability so that you can build a stronger frame in the future, so that you have stronger legs to stand on in the future. So if you've misused your resources, now you can see where those holes are so that you can patch them up. The Tower is a blessing, which is why it comes in. It's technically 10, 15, 16, but negates or denotes to sevens, which is a blessing number, is a faith number or faith-based number, is often associated, the seven sisters, the seven dancers, all of these lovely things. I will get that later. Oh gosh, we're gonna end that so that it doesn't distract me. Nine of Swords, Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so with the Tower being maybe a present standing or a forthcoming standing, the Nine of Swords is the anticipation of, anticipation of negative things often heightens that discomfort. This is where meditation is incredibly useful, as it has been scientifically proven that it will help plateau the adrenaline rush and intensity of impact on pain. But if this is the present and that is the past, then how are we bringing toxic cycles or negative cycles or unbecoming cycles that ultimately dwindle our natural renewable resource of love and loving as an energy? How is it that we are bringing that forward into this transition of times? Are we bringing bad habits into restructuring? For instance, and bear with me here, if you were a contractor and you built this house and your inspector was punches out bricks, this isn't stable, this isn't stable, this isn't stable. We could be upset and unnerved and all of these things and, get really into that lack of self-worth and be like, fuck that guy, I worked really hard on this. I'm doing exactly what I did before and rebuilding that unstable structure. Only to find ourselves in the same cycle, only to find ourselves in the same situation. Or will we take that humbly? Will we, understand that our, effort and, not progress, but our focus and how we can, emotionally invest in things and where we take patience and how that moves us, and change our plans up so that we have a bit more of a stable structure when things come. That can be a huge ego check. That can very much be a huge ego check and is very literally a Tower moment. So obviously that's metaphorical, but I just wanted to paint that picture for you.
And that is 100% why the Wheel of Fortune is here. A solid 10, a combining of the 1 and the 0, where we, use the hidden chakras in our energy to sort of churn through doubt and ego, so that what we move forward in is with purity and with bliss, with purity, with light, with bliss, with full knowledge of our shadows, rather than being taunted by. Again, my favorite metaphor of this is the way Peter Pan stitches his shadow onto himself, so that it's no longer menacing him or like pranking him, but it is now a part of him. And that is how we can move forward with these things. Don't let the tower, unleash all of these spirits and make you feel haunted. Don't let, the towers falling make you feel like you're incapable of building again. But let it remind you of the pockets and structure, so that you can fill and be filled and be whole, really, and become a solid passage and bridge in your own right for this kind of energy. Maybe that's exactly why all of this happened the way that it did, because asking for that bridge is really just various aspects of yourself and the ways that you can fill that void or bridge that gap in a stabilized and structured way. In the same way that, I've learned this a lot about feet, but also in the analogy of arched bridges. The strongest points are the end points, and because of that, there is no weak point along that arch, because we have stable structure here. So whether that be your ideal future self and where you've been in your past, and like your full recognition of that, rather than that still being a point of crumbling, will help bridge that gap, or light side, shadow side, good feelings, all of the feelings that we've cultivated to allow our intuition to show us when things are no bueno, and focus on all the things that allow our intuition to show us when things are very bueno. The bridge isn't just I should have known that. The bridge to this isn't a single card, and it's not a single idea. It's various states of you, and various states of distractions, and various states of your purity as well amidst those distractions. And that could mean for you very different things. Some of us are distracted by very different things, or utilizing things that are typically distracting for various reasons. So this is all very customizable to you, and there is no one size fits all. But this is definitely an energy that is amidst everybody, and rather than be stuck in or bring forth all of the doubt, worry, or again the crumbling of our shadow self as a starting point, stabilize that so that I can bring forth peace within that ego death. And it's not like it dies, but it churns and it purifies, distills. We distill. That's the word. We distill, so that we can move forward in high potency and in high purity and in our most intoxicating selves, in the most spiritual way, and in the most becoming and blessing way. Okay, we'll keep these, and we will pull numbers. I'm gonna put a rock on them so nothing flies away. Go around. No, babe.
climb. You can climb. You're fine. You're super fine. Sometimes we gotta take the long way around. Sometimes we just gotta be creative. Oh, good job. You got it.
Hey, okay. That's the last time you let me do that one.
And I'll open the fence for you, Miss Molly.
No, I know it won't open. I have to climb it too. Okay, hold on.
Yay!
Hold on. Yay. Hold on. And I'm gonna go. Because why not?
Woo,
Why
yeah.
not?
You got this. Show them how it's
I
done.
haven't done it in a minute. Oh, no.
Off the phone.
Okay.
Your phone!
Oh, boy.
And sometimes we just move forward. That was pretty cool. Alrighty. Okay. I guess I can go back here, not up there. Done climbing. Alright. Much like we are hanging out in this park, amidst all of this laughter, take 3 deep breaths with these cards. The wind's really getting me today, huh? Alright. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. That was interesting. I've never really had that audible of things happening. But it was like right away I could like just hear my heartbeat slowing down. And it was kind of really nice. It was very loud. It was very calming. And maybe that's, fucking full moon in Pisces, like being submerged underwater. If you've ever felt or like listened to yourself breathe underwater, even if you like take a bath and you just submerge like your ears, you can hear your breathing in such a strange, like full-bodied way. And that was 100% what I felt. So full moon in Pisces, submerge yourself into it, like let it wash over you. Don't take anything personally. Don't let any of these curveballs really like throw you off course or throw you to the wayside. There are clashing identities and ideas, but that is almost like the Hadron Collider. Those, past self, new self, or like old idea, new idea, old way of being, new way of being will collide and explode in a very what's the word I'm looking for? Where it like moves forward, like not cataclysmic, in a catalyst kind of way. And it does have those realizations that are like so visceral and so embodied that it's undeniable, and it's very clarifying in that way, which again, in the purifying and in the distilling of these processes of emotions, is very clarifying in that process. So you don't have to fight it, you don't have to resist it, you don't have to suppress it, you don't have to be angry about it, but submerge yourself and allow yourself to listen for what is present, and where it is present. Oof, okay. How did I know you would come up? I had a feeling. 3352. Don't move too fast because you're going to find yourself resetting anyway. Don't rush yourself because you'll find yourself back at the starting line, and that will be more frustrating than anything. 3 of diamonds, 3 of clubs, 5 of clubs, 2 of clubs. It's a lot of fire. It's a lot of fire and a lot of earth. We can go through a lot of fire when we are grounded in ourselves, though, and this is very much grounded in your own reality as well. For as much as I think that can have to do, again, with distractions, we can set the scene, essentially. Set the scene with your imagination or with your distractions. This is the funny thing about internet and social media and AI, is while it does sort of promote this idea of more imagination, use AI to create images you've never created before. Party on. I'm not going to negate that. However, are we using other platforms to create within our imagination, or are we using our imagination to create within those platforms? That will be a very big question as far as this card goes, because you can essentially select and choose what it is your mind wants to see, which is very much, like if we know this state, then this state is going to be much more about imagination and possibility amidst the impossibility. This state could be ruled by what it is that we're seeing online, on TV, or it can be ruled by what it is we're willing to see and what it is we're creating within our mind's eye. You can see it here and then see it there. Does that make sense? This is very much like the options of 2 separate worlds, but creation nonetheless. There was a following 3. That's funny too that it's those, because I feel like that would be 2 separate chords kind of playing against each other, potentially canceling them out, but you can find harmony in that as well. Sorry, they were just bothering me up here. I think this 3 of Wands is also commenting on, again, like I said, don't rush yourself because you'll find yourself at the beginning again. Don't rush yourself past this creation, or you will find yourself more frustrated than you were in the beginning, and then questioning as to whether, questioning that value again, questioning what it is you really could have brought to the table, rather than being able to revel in the care and concern and see for yourself that the beauty around you is also a reflection of the beauty in you. It takes patience. Sometimes it's very easy to question and challenge ourselves, and that is where those guru chakras, because there's 9, not 7, they send that energy back down to churn, and then it rises again. When you get caught in this for impatience and judgment, then it churns that energy and it sends it back down. And again, you're starting all over again. You're pushing down Kundalini rather than allowing it for it to rise. Which brings me back to this guy that came out for our Magician and our Empress, because he has an open heart. He would not push down Kundalini. In fact, these are levels of Kundalini in like ethereal plane meets physical plane because of that energy. So again, make like these guys. There's a really heavy bottom of the deck, which, totally appropriate for a fucking Pisces full moon. Heavy vibes all around. Oh gosh, my headphones are falling out. Heavy vibes all around. 2 of clubs at the bottom of that deck. I don't think this is about going anywhere per se. This is at the section of a crossroads. And I think for what I've said about, you know, clashing ideas and that kind of cataclysm, this is about that being under the water and stopping and listening to really figure out which direction it is. For those of you that feel lost, your intuition and your body will always lead you the right direction. And I say that because I've very physically been lost. And I, instead of panicked, I sat down on a fucking hill and I was like, okay, my body will feel where to go. I just have to stop and I have to slow down and I have to stop anticipating and not negate logic, but not let my logical brain fuel me into these things. You know, like looking around like, do I remember that? Do I remember that? Oh no. That is the way logic can lead you astray. Rather than the logic of paying attention to physical sensation in that moment. Legitimately, I sat down and I was like, I had that moment where it was like, do I remember walking down there? Do I remember walking down there? You know, I don't know, it looks the same, da-da-da-da-da. And I just had to silence that again and had to silence that even more and kind of go deeper into meditation. And I shit you not, I was like, okay, I'm good. I feel a thing this way. And so I walked 5 minutes, 10 minutes that way, and I, sure enough, ran into my friends in the fucking woods again. So, very real, literal story. But that's very much that, rather than the shit, do I go this way, do I go that way, do I remember going this way, do I remember going that way, last time I went down that way, it got me really hurt, last time I went that way, it didn't go this way, blah, 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 blah. Stop all of that. Sit here, sit with yourself, submerge yourself in yourself, like a true fucking Pisces full moon would, and that will allow you to let your body tell you what is pulling, what is actually pulling in one way or another. And again, distill and clarify those sensations. So ironic, but it's not about movement. None of this really has been. The movement is inevitable. How stable can you be through it? All right. I feel like that's a solid place to end it on. And I love you, and I hope that resonates, and I hope that helps your heart find some ease in this process. As mine is also finding, because I am not immune to any of these waves either. But I love you. Party on. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And, you know, make the most of it. Love you. Cherish yourself. Party on, my friends. Be safe.